last half of the year 133 AC proved calamitous in other ways as well. The court rejoiced when Lady Rhaena Targaryen that she was with child by her husband, Lord Corbray, but joy turned to grief only a month later when she miscarried the babe. Widespread famine was reported in the north, attributed to the loss of the harvest thanks to the Dance of the Dragons, and the winter fever descended on Barrowton, the first time it had ever travelled so far inland. This is even more strange when you consider how sparsely populated the north is, in comparison to other parts of Westeros. A raider named Silas the Grim led 3,000 wildlings against the wall, overwhelming the Black Brothers at Queensgate, and spreading out across the Gift until Lord Cregan Stark rode forth from Winterfell, joined with the Glovers of Deepwood Motte, the Flints and Norries of the Hills, and 100 rangers from the Watch, to hunt them down and put an end to them. But in the time it took for Lord Stark to rally his men, the wildlings ran wild, killing and pillaging as they went. 1,000 leagues to the south, Sir Stephen Connington was hunting too, pursuing a small band of Dornish raiders across the windswept marches. But he rode too far and too fast, ignorant what lay ahead, until one-armed Wyland Will came down on him. Lady Elenda found herself widowed once again. This even only emboldened the Dornish more than they had been before. In the west, Lady Joanna Lannister hoped to follow her victory at Case by striking another blow against the Red Kraken. Assembling a ragtag fleet of fishing boats and cogs, she loaded 100 knights and 3,000 men-at-arms aboard and sent them out to sea under the cover of darkness to retake Fair Isle from the Ironmen. The plan was to land them undetected on the south end of the island, but someone had betrayed them, and the longships were waiting. Lord Presta, Lord Tarbeck, and Lord Erwin Lannister commanded the ill-fated crossing. Dalton Greyjoy sent their heads to Castle Rock afterwards. Yet, all these were as naught against the tragedy that descended the court and king. On the 22nd day of the 9th moon of 133 AC, Jaehaera of House Targaryen, Queen of the Seven Kingdoms and last surviving child of King Aegon II, perished at the age of 10. Little Queen died just as her mother, Queen Helaena, had, throwing herself from a window in Maegor's Holdfast onto the iron spikes that line the dry moat below. Impaled through the breast and belly, she twisted in agony for half an hour before she could be lifted free, whereupon she passed from blood loss and died almost instantly. King's Landing grieved, as only King's Landing could, and as they had done many times before. Jaehaera had been a frightened, broken child from the day she saw her twin brother murdered by blood and cheese in the early days of the Dance of the Dragons. From the day she donned her small crown, she had hidden herself away inside the Red Keep, hardly even being seen by the king himself. The small folk of the city remembered her wedding and how brave and beautiful the little girl had seemed. So they wept and wailed and tore their clothes, and crowded into seps and taverns and brothels to seek whatever solace they could find. But there was also an atmosphere of suspicion and discontent that was spreading like fire on a thatched roof. There the whispers soon were flying, just as they had when Queen Helaena died under suspicious circumstances in a similar fashion in the early days after Rhaenyra and the Blacks had captured King's Landing. While officially Helaena is said to have committed suicide, there were countless rumours of foul play, both inside the Red Keep and the potshops of King's Landing. In the eyes of the small folk, anyone and everyone was blamed for her death, from Larys the Clubfoot to Rhaenyra herself. But the truth of the matter is, we shall never know what led to Helaena to her death, be it from her hand or that of another. But the similar circumstances in Jaehaera's death led the small folk, and even some in the Red Keep, to ask one simple question: had the little Queen Jaehaera truly taken her own life? Speculation was rampant. Jaehaera was a lonely child, prone to weeping and somewhat simple-minded, yet she had seemed content in her bedchambers with her maids and ladies, her kittens and her dolls. What could have made her mad enough or sad enough to leap from the window onto the cruel spikes below? Some suggested that Lady Rhaena's miscarriage might have made her so distraught she did not wish to live, but in truth she hardly knew or spent much time with Rhaena. Others, of a more cynical bent, counter that it might have been jealousy over the child growing inside of Lady Baela drove her to the act. It was the king, whispered still others. She loved him with all her heart, yet he paid her no mind, showed her no affection, did not even share his room with her. And of course, there was many who refused to believe that Jaehaera had even taken her own life. She was murdered, they whispered, just as her mother was. But if that were true, who was the murderer? In truth, if it was murder, there was no lack of suspects. By tradition, there was always a Knight of the Kingsguard posted at the Queen's door. It would have been a simple thing for him to slip inside and throw the child from her window. If so, surely the king himself had given the command. Aegon had tired of her weeping and wailing and wanted a new wife, men said. Or perhaps he wished to revenge himself on the daughter of the king who killed his mother. The boy was dour and gloomy. Tales of Maegor the Cruel were freely told, but looking back at history, it is safe to remove Aegon from any part in the plot to murder his queen, given what we know of him. Others blamed one of the little queen's companions, Lady Cassandra Baratheon, the eldest of the Four Storms. Lady Cassandra had briefly been betrothed to Aegon II during the last year of his life, and possibly also to his brother Aemon One-Eye before that. Disappointment had turned her sour. Once her father's heir at Storm's End, she found herself on Little Accounting King's Landing and bitterly resented having to care for the weepy, feeble-witted child whom she blamed for all her woes. One of the Queen's bedmaids also came under suspicion when it was found that she had stolen two of Jaehaera's dolls and a pearl necklace. A serving boy who had spilled soup on the little queen a year before, had been beaten for it, was accused. Both of these were put to question by the Lord Confessor and finally declared innocent, though the boy died under questioning and the girl lost a hand for theft. Even holy servants of the Seven were not above suspicion. A certain scepter in the city had once been heard to say that the little queen ought to never have children, for simple-minded women produce simple-minded sons. The Goldcloaks brought her in as well, and she vanished into a dungeon, never to see the light of day. Grief makes men mad. With hindsight, we can say for fair certainty that none of these played any role in the sad death of the little queen. If indeed Jaehaera Targaryen was murdered, and there was not a shred of proof of that, it was surely done at the behest of the only true plausible culprit, Unwin Peake, Lord Regent, Lord of Starpike, Lord of Dunstanbury, Lord of Whitegrove, Protector of the Realm, and Hand of the King.